Come on in, guys. Welcome, 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 welcome. Happy Wednesday. All right, we're getting everything set. Let's make sure it's all set up. Keep coming on in, you guys. I'm Brandi Smith with Perfect 10 Physical Therapy. Welcome. Great. All right, we got it all going. Hey, guys, I'm Brandi Smith with Perfect 10 Physical Therapy and Performance Training and Perfect 10 PT Academy. Welcome this week. There was a request, so you're welcome to the Blueprint for Peak Performance free performance webinar, Ask Me Anything. And a week or so ago, we had a conversation about compression gear and about, why am I not, that's interesting. So we had a question about compression gear and also about how we can use compression gear to help our posture and also our performance. We also talked about the Taylor Swift bra. And so just briefly kind of brush the topics, and there was a bunch of interest in it. So you guys said you guys wanted to talk about it more today. So I wanted to check in with everybody. You guys can unmute, and I just want to get some interest. Are you guys interested still in talking about posture and about compression and posture bras and what makes up a good one and what can help us promote good posture, which in the sport of gymnastics, dance, cheerleading, kind of any sport, good alignment and the ability to have a balanced body promotes good performance, right? We're about to join the Olympics this week. Who's excited about the Olympics?
Whoop, whoop.
Woo, woo. Thank you. Yes, Michael. Yeah, so I'm excited about the Olympics. It's only a few days. Oh, yeah, Patricia says so excited. So do you guys know who's going to win the Olympics in any sport? I have one sentence I can tell you that will judge who wins the Olympics in any sport. So yeah, podium trainings today, Patricia, you're right. I'm so excited. Podium training today. So does anyone unmute and just tell me in one sentence, who's going to win the Olympics in any sport?
Mindset.
Mindset. Ooh, that's a good one. What else? Who's the winner in any sport?
They're all the winner? I don't know.
They're all the winner. Well, I mean, that's in the world of like, yeah, I mean, like they all worked really hard. They've all achieved their own personal best. Whoever goes in and does the best, like, yeah, you're like, right? But I'm talking about actually podium. Like when it comes to performance, who's going to be the one athlete that outperforms in the 100-meter swim, in the butterfly, in gymnastics, on floor, on vault, on the soccer team? Who's going to win? On the fencing team, even.
I feel like this is a trick question.
Oh, it's not a trick question. Okay, so you guys want to hear my prediction?
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks I love interaction. So please, otherwise I feel like I'm talking to myself. Yeah, so you know who's going to win? It's going to be the person who can most efficiently and effectively transfer forces. So most efficiently, effectively, and who's also powerful, right? Who can transfer forces. So we're assuming that the force that they're transferring, that they're putting in, is powerful, right? So the athlete who has the most power and then can efficiently and effectively transfer that force through whatever they're doing, that's who's going to win. Think about that for a second. Michael, does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense. It's who can apply it, right?
Who can apply and not have the most amount of bleeding out. I call it bleeding out power, right?
Leaching,
So,
yep.
leaching, bleeding out power, loss of power. So if your biomechanics are off, and especially at the Olympic level, right? In particularly at the Olympic level, these athletes have already done all the foundations, right? They learned their skill. They learned like the progressions. They've progressed through their sport. They have a certain level of strength to be at the level of the Olympics. They have a certain level of flexibility. But the problem in lies when we have a little bit of, so I like to talk about the body as a circus tent. How many of you guys have heard of me talk about the body as a circus tent? Michael, have you heard of me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Yep.
to think about it like the circus tent. So if you think about the body like a circus tent, you have a pole down down the middle. You have lines in every direction. If I have a bunch of 100-pound billies in every direction, or maybe they're Billy Juniors, or maybe they have other names and they're a little bigger, like depends on who you are, right? But if they're all equally forced, right, my pole is going to be happy. And the loads pushing through the body are happy, right? Now, when I go to take that load, I can transfer that load pretty quickly out of a floor that's sprung, out of a field, out of the track, out of the water, out of the wall pushing off in the water, like out of my floor while I try to fence. Like I think fencing, is another option, but like just all of those, out of the pole when I'm pole vaulting, out of the ground when I'm leaping onto, not leaping, but jumping on a long jump or triple jump. So if everything's evenly mastered, then my body's pretty happy. But if I have a whole bunch of 800-pound, like if I have an 800-pound Bubba on one side and a 100-pound Billy on the other, and I'm slumped over like this, and I go to try to get my arms up, I'm not going to have the ability to do it. So there's a balance between strength and mobility and proper biomechanics.
Wow.
Now, there is a certain amount of imbalance required to do certain things. This is why when you guys look up and see all the swimmers, they all are going to have broad chests. They all have a body type. By the time it's called attrition, right?
Yeah.
You don't see someone like me who's 5'2" mesomorph going into the Olympic trials for swimming. But you see plenty, and you also don't see a bunch of 7-foot basketball player-like structures going into the male gymnastics, or the 5'6", 6-foot female basketball players going into female gymnastics, right? Because there is some attrition that will happen throughout the sport. And if you look at over time, so attrition will be because of their genetic components, they will find that they are better at certain sports than others. Because of how they're built. And then there's a component of training, adaptation. So the body adapts to how many hours they train in a certain sport. This is why, like for me especially, but I'm sure many of you who are coaching or have athletes or were once athletes yourself, you can, especially in the sport you are specialized in, be at the airport and go, that's a gymnast, that's a ballerina,
Yep.
that's a cheerleader, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you can pick them
All
out
the
of the-
time.
all the time. And swimmers are easy to pick out. Broad shoulders, narrow waist.
Yeah.
Right?
Triangles.
Triangles, yes, because that moves through the water nicely, right? So part of what you're going to see is that you'll see that there's a lot of similar body types when they get to the top at the Olympics. And that's part of its genetics. Part of it is adaptation to training. And there will be some imbalances. So it's not going to be ideal, perfect 100-pound Billies in every way, because in order to do the butterfly, I've got to have quite a bit of pecs happening, right? Otherwise, I won't be good at it. But at some point, when we lean our pole too far, we get so much strength here that we lose mobility in our thoracic spine, or our shoulder blades don't move properly. Now, all of a sudden, that swimmer is not as efficient or as effective as Michael Phelps. And now they're losing seconds, okay? On running, we just had in the Invincible Athlete this last week, my coach, Michael Wellington, he's a running coach, former collegiate hurdler, amazing, came in and talked about mechanics of running and sprinting in particular. We were talking about developing speed in all ages, right? And one of the things he talks about is what happens when your foot hits the ground and how that force is transferred. And so our sprinters, like I love Usain Bolt, he's great. You can see by his head how fast he is. If you watch Usain Bolt or some of those really fast runners, their head's going to go straight across here. Okay. Now, when they're in the acceleration phase, they're going to be, the optimal angle is going to be about 45 degrees, but they still have a straight line ear to shoulder to rib cage to pelvis. And then they get in, and then just the first 4 to 6 steps is the acceleration phase. And if you have a short distance to run like a vaulter, you still get it in four steps, but you got to get it fast and powerful. It's an acceleration, right? Acceleration phase. But once they hit the acceleration phase and they get the max velocity phase, they iron out to straight alignment, straight up and down. So if I'm like this, I am not straight up and down. I'm bleeding out power. And if my foot is hitting and my foot is collapsing, I'm losing my arch, I'm bleeding out power. If I can't open my shoulders all the way, I'm bleeding out power. by a closed shoulder angle. If my hips are closed and I'm trying to push all the way through, I'm bleeding out power. And I could be bleeding out power because I've over dominated and created a bubba out of my hip flexors, and my lower abdominals are not sufficient to fight the bubba. I could be that my pecs have over dominated, and my teres major, which is another little rotator cuff muscle that is really common in gymnasts, that they over dominate, and my back shoulder blade muscles and my central stability system, my core, are not sufficient to counter it, right? So there are going to be imbalances, and you're going to see them at the Olympics, and you see them in any sport. But when they become too great and you sacrifice mobility for stability, mobility for strength, or you sacrifice proper biomechanic alignment, like ideal positioning for overtraining of a certain direction, you're going to bleed out power. And that at the Olympic level will look like milliseconds, will look like 0.2, 0.025, 0.1. It'll look like the details. Now, when you get to younger, more recreational, junior Olympic, developmental people, it'll look bigger. You can see it bigger. So in the Olympics, this is like video it, slow-mo it, and check the alignment of person who wins and person who loses, right? Like, and you might see a good enough difference that you can see it with your naked eye. So in the Olympics, the person who is taking in the most input, but then they're the most efficient and effective at transferring that load, they're the one who's going to win. Doesn't matter what sport. What were you going to say, Michael? Come on in.
Well, when I took my certification for diving, my level 3, the coach that did it, he said, let me propose a question to you in the biomechanics section. He said, if your athlete's doing a double back and they land on their face short, what do you do? And I'm like, well, stop, because it's getting dangerous. They're tired, they're fatigued. He's like, no, fix your biggest error, because that is where you're losing the most energy to get through it. And
that's why they're not making it over.
Totally related to, and he said, you will see the energy level go up and everything go up by fixing the biggest error, which is your mechanical, right? Like, so you're basically, he was saying, you're leaching energy through poor technique. That's why your kid's not making it. It's not because she's tired, it's because she has bad technique. And he said, when you think of those people that do at the level we're talking about, the Olympics, they make everything look so easy.
Correct.
Right? Like when they do an iron cross, it's like effortless, right? And we all know it's not effortless. So you saying the whole energy thing super triggered, and that's always stayed with me, because that was the first thing I like. The light went off and went, oh, that's kind of a very interesting concept. Like, look at the technique, take the biggest error, fix the biggest error, and the energy level should go up, and everything should rise with that, because now you're not leaching energy at all these points of angles. And he was a diving person, right? So I was like, oh, interesting, right?
Yeah. You know, so here's the thing. It's interesting, even more interesting on the I'm a biomechanics geek, right? Like, I love biomechanics, and I spend lots of time just talking with Jerry George whenever we have the time. And in short, though, if you think about it, there's a couple major errors that if you find alignment based on what your goal is, like maybe my goal is to be in this, it's a Maltese, right? Where they're here and they're up, right?
Yeah.
So like a men in a Maltese, head position matters. So you'll see if their head drops down here, they're working very hard. But if they can have their head in a line with their shoulders, they're not working as hard, and it's much easier. So like I can't remember his name. Colt used to send me his video. It's like a Chinese or Japanese guy who does like one of the best Maltese right now. And Colt's like, I think he's made of feathers. He just are like bird bones. He says, they look like he's made of bird bones. He just floats into the Maltese. And you know, he's not floating, he's working. But what it is if you look at his alignment, everything lines up. Nothing's pulling him down. And so the same thing goes for swimming, gymnastics, like a Yurchenko entry, or any kind of tumbling of any sort. If you see a closed, so one thing that's really important about almost anything is head position. Your head weighs 10 to 15 pounds. And if your head is off center by just a few centimeters, it adds weight because of gravity. I forget the exact coefficient, but it's, 2.5 to 5 pounds more, depending on how far off the center of axis your head comes, that now your muscles are having to work against, right? And so the old adage of wherever the head goes, the body will, what is it? Follow, right? Wherever the head goes, the body will follow. And this is headed towards posture because I want to talk about this. So the head is one of the big pieces. The next piece is disconnection in the rib cage and pelvis. So the inability to stay connected, rib cage and pelvis. So we lose connection here, we lose connection here. Like the inability to stay connected and those pieces be what I call in the same zip code, or for little kids, I tell them they need to be neighbors next to the gym, right? Like they need to be friends. If they're if they're kind of fighting, then they're going to fight against you. And so 1 is head position, 2, rib cage pelvis position, and then 3 is our connection to our extremities, right? So like for instance, if I have one arm going this way and one arm going this way, I'm fighting each other. If I'm trying to twist, I need them to both connect together. If I am wanting my arms to go up and I get one to go up and the other one stops here, I've now got something pulling me down while this one's pulling me back. So those connections, those biomechanic, like those are some of the most common like issues. Like a lot of athletes will lose connection to their extremities. They actually lose motor. What happens is they actually don't have a really clean motor map, a lot of times, of their hands or their feet. And so I'll work with athletes on finding connection between their central stability system and their feet, or central stability system and their hands. And again, this goes for any sport. It doesn't really matter. I mean, course, well, no, even running and stuff, like you would say, oh, running's all legs. Not true. If your arms are not,
your arms got to be as strong as your legs.
Correct. One of the biggest cues in running is actually to move your arms. And it's all about power and aggressive. And the more aggressive I can be with this arm, and you can see my arm position, it needs to be really specific. So the more I can take up my pattern, my window with my arms, my legs will follow that same stride. So arms and legs always go together. Part of it has to do with the motor map in the brain. So why are we talking about this? And I'm going to get you in a second, Michael, is because we wanted to talk about posture bras, and compression wear, and what can we do to give more feedback to our brain to perform better. And so this biomechanical of like where we are in space, if we can improve the input, what information we're giving our brain, it'll send better signals to help us, 1, be aware of that alignment, and 2, improve the efficiency of our ability to transfer those loads. So if I can improve input from my central stability system or from my body to my brain, and my brain increases that neuromuscular firing, that loop to the muscles, I can more effectively and efficiently transfer loads. And so transferring loads is really important for, 1, decreasing injury risk, and 2, improving your performance. And so just think about that. You're going to see that at the Olympics, massive amounts of people who can transfer loads very good. And the one who transfers the best is the one who's going to win. Also has the ability to put in the most input, right? So there's a coordination. So efficiently and effectively means that they coordinate that movement, right? So Michael, come on in before I go on.
It's funny you mentioned the head, because Tony Retrosi and I just talked about it like 3 weeks ago, about how if you pull your chin back, it aligns your spine. And I can't, like when you literally try to do it and you think pull your chin back, I call it the double chin, right?
Right.
But you can feel your thoracic lock up and come in line just by simply pulling your chin back, right? So it's all in line.
Yeah. So the thing is that I've been practicing for a little over 10 years, something called Alexander technique. And that technique actually bases, there's a couple ways to look at postures. Some techniques look at it from the feet, the ground up, and some look at it from the head down. So Alexander technique looks at it from the head down. I do also look at the feet as well. And so does Alexander technique. But they emphasize the head first. They go head first, then they'll go from bottom up. So it's always head first. And so you can just practice this with yourself, even just sitting where you are. If my head is forward, my rib cage will collapse and my thoracic spine will then start to flex. So this is that wonderful cell phone posture that we're all dealing with. And this is the reason we're having this conversation, is because we're talking about mostly teenagers and maybe into their 20s, but like we're talking about mostly guys here, probably 7, unfortunately it's starting at 7 and 8, but let's just say 10 to 20-year-olds, and even ourselves. We're fighting this. And so now if I'm here and my head is forward, as soon as my head goes forward, my thoracic spine has to flex. And now my rib cage is down and my central stability system is not in its optimal place. And so just play that and now see how you can not move your arms very high. So just try that. Give it a try. Okay, now if I take my head and I just put my hand in the back of my head and my other hand at my chin, and I just pull the back of my head up and I drop my chin down just enough that my eyes are parallel to the floor. So I want you to notice is that when this happens, the head goes forward, my eyes are actually up. They're not parallel to the floor. And so if I'm here and I come up and tuck my chin, now my eyes are parallel to the floor. And now notice that my ear is in line with my shoulder pretty well. Now some of us who are tight may have this little pec thing happening, so it might be nice to work on opening the shoulders. But if I drop the plumb line, I have my ear, my shoulder, my rib cage, my pelvis. If I was standing, let's see. Oh, no, maybe I can just stand. Okay, good. So if I'm standing, then I would want this to come up. And the moment this comes forward, now my pelvis and rib cage are not in the same position. And my feet are doing something weird. Now, if I come up and pull this in, now I can let my feet drop. I probably have to think about it because they've been on for a while. And now you can see ear, shoulder, rib cage, pelvis, knee just slightly in front of the ankle. Not locked out and behind, but see now all of a sudden that happens. I change. So now, is this saying that I have to walk around like this all the time? No, it's saying that you have to have a place to start from and then change your shapes. So in the sport of gymnastics, there's this big debacle. I would say debate, but it's a debacle. In that everyone seems to think that this is our desired position to do things. So now we're landing all these drills of round-offs or back handsprings into this position here, super flexed in our thoracic spine. And where's my head position? And how high can I get my arms up? If you watch my cast handstand video recently I put on Instagram, a child that came in was taught to be in a hollow position. And you'll see her do a cast, the very first cast she comes in with, in a hollow position. She's like, I can't get my cast handstand. My coach has been trying. They've been doing all these things. It's not getting better. Now, I didn't specifically say, hey, we need to open up, stop overhollowing, or it's not even overhollowing. It's a thoracic flexion. It's not even an entire kinetic chain thing. But if you watch that video, she's in a big round. And what I taught her was to find straight body. And guess what? The moment she cast into a straight body, now her shoulders have the ability to come all the way open. So part of her problem, not all of it, the other part was her ears needed to train to go forward. She needed to find a connection here. There was a couple pieces we did in literally 10 minutes. Now, granted, this was a kid already trying to work cast handstands, but she was here trying to push and trying to open her shoulders. They will not go very far if my posture is not able to change. And the problem with training, overtraining isometric hollow is number one, it turns off the central stability system. Number two, it can create urinary leakage with tumbling over time because of the central stability system issue. Number three, it's never going to actually get you to a straight body position, which is necessary for a handstand, a pirouette, etc. So like the ability, I'm telling you, ideal like plumb line, check it out, but you need to be able to move. And Jerry George and I have talked about this multiple times. In the sport of gymnastics, you only need 8, maybe 10 degrees, but he tends to err on the side of 8 degrees of change of body shape in anything. If you go through the entire code of points, and I've taught this gosh, I don't even know, 1,000 times, I feel like, but hundreds of times across the country. I say, hey, what's the most common shape in gymnastics? And Michael, what do you think everyone says first?
Hollow.
Hollow. Every time, hollow. And I'm like, really? Let's think about that. And then they go, what do you think they say secondly?
Arched.
Arched. I go, let's think about that. Really? And then I pull out the coda points and I show, I just want you to see the torso from ear to her tailbone. What is this position on a pirouette, on a full turn? What is this position on a handstand? What is this position on a set? What is this position on an entry into a front handspring at the very beginning part before they do a little drive? What is it in a giant? It's literally a straight body into an 8-degree change of an arch, into a straight body, into an 8-degree change of a kinetic chain hollow, entire spine hollow, not a thoracic round. So where Jerry George and I've talked about this multiple times, where this over thoracic rounding flexion that they're calling hollow, that's not a hollow, is coming from, I don't even know, because if you look at most athletes that I have come in, they have thoracic flexion and extension in their low back. So they're like this and rounded. See, this is actually arched in my low back. And so now I'm actually using my hip flexors to stabilize because I've overtrained this. My central stability system, my lower abs aren't able to fight the over hollow and are the over flexion of the thoracic spine. And now my hip flexors are like, I'm Bubba and I'll help you. And now all of a sudden we have a cooking recipe for pars fractures and stress fractures and spondylolisthesis, hypermobility of the low back, that whole continuum, right? And it's not in that order. It's hypermobility of low back, then it's a stress reaction, then it's a stress fracture or pars fracture, and then it's, spondylolisthesis with slippage if it happens. So I say that because we want to talk about posture today. And part of why do we need to improve our posture is because if you want to get your arm all the way up to set or to do a handstand, like you just said, Michael, you have to get this. So if this is already here and their head is out, you're in that thoracic flexion again, which is what people are overtraining anyways. And I'm not saying this, the other thing I talk about a lot about is that when in the sport, and Michael, you can answer this for me, when in the sport, Michael, do we do an isometric hollow ever?
Never really.
No, it's dynamic.
Yeah, it's through,
right?
It's never held, it's through that shape.
Right. Any shape change in the sport of gymnastics, in particularly, or tumbling, is a dynamic change. So I really got to question why we're overtraining isometric hollows and why we keep really emphasizing. So if you watch my cast handstand video, actually, let's just do it. Can we just do it? Does that sound like a good idea, Michael? Should we just watch it real quick?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, let me get this on.
Brandi, can you
Yes?
answer that question? Because, and I've seen the cast handstand video that you posted on Instagram, but I
Yeah.
don't understand because I remember the early days of gymnastics for my daughter, and it was always, come out of your back handspring, land in a hollow position. Do your round off, land in a hollow position. Everything was land in this hollow position. All the conditioning is hollow holds, hollow holds. So why, if at some point you got to be straight vertical to do the handstand, straight vertical, the only thing I can think of for the hollow is maybe your kip, because you kind of go out.
You have to
in a
round a
hollow.
little bit. Yeah, but when
Yeah.
you round that kip, it's not here. You're actually rounding the whole shape. I can't even change the shape right now because of the thing, but you're actually rounding when you come up. You're
Mhm.
actually doing the entire kinetic chain from base of the head down to the tailbone, right?
Yeah. So why that emphasis on the hollow hold and the hollow shape in, the early stages of gymnastics if that's not where it's needed?
We
That
weren't
is a-
educated.
Yes. So that is a great question. Michael has a great answer. It's a lack of education, and it's also this concept or systemic issue of this is how we always done it. And or I saw Jerry George and I actually talked about this recently, like a few months ago, and I asked him, I said, what do you think? And he goes, I don't even know where that came from. He goes, I'm probably going to die when they finally figure out that this is stupid. And that's exactly what he said to me. Like it was probably 7 months ago. It was 8 months ago before he got sick. And I love him to death. So I don't say that in any other way. It just, he has this, if you know Jerry George, he has a sense of humor, so he would find it
Yes.
funny. So, but what he said to me, I go, Jerry, I was like, where did this come from? Where did this concept, like, I was like, you teach all across the country kinetic chain. He talks about the whip. He talks about how gymnastics is, whole kinetic chain. He talks about how an eagle lands. All of it is kinetic chain stuff, right? And he's like, yeah, he says, ultimately, if they would just read the book, he's like, it's about an 8-degree shape change that's necessary in different sports of gymnastics in the spine. Now, you do various things with your legs and arms. If I'm leaping, my arms may change to here. When I'm doing, a wolf jump, I have one leg up and one leg is bent. A tuck jump, 2 legs, double backs, my knees are coming in, right? So the extremities are changing. But when you look at from the base of the skull to the tailbone, in the sport of gymnastics, you only need about 8 to 10 degrees change. And it's partially because of this weight of your head. Where the head goes, the body will literally follow. And I created a kind of debate on one of the Facebook groups with my twisting video recently, which we can talk a little bit about as well. But it's that same concept. Because people kept saying that they were taught that you should twist from your hips, which is a whole nother slew of things. And I wanted to say no. And I said, the problem is when you have someone twisting arms here and head here, or one foot inevitably, twisters who have trouble, one foot is going this way, this one's here, and the head is the opposite. And that is a discoordinated movement, which likely stemmed from a developmental issue where they didn't roll over enough or roll enough. And so I talked about leading with the head and then the rest of the spine following. And I broke down the movement pattern. They had a cow. They had a cow because they were like, but I want to twist like a pencil or like he used like a lacrosse stick or something. And I go, yes, when you're twisting the air, you do want to be one unit, right? But where does that unit lead from? The eyes and the head.
Yeah.
And if you have a discoordinated athlete, you actually have to take that movement pattern and break it down to super basic. Like just like you would break a skill down, you have to break a movement pattern down to that.
Yeah.
And they were like, nope, not having it. I want to see the research on that. I was like, it's easy. It's simple motor development and also neural development. So I have a twisting video that if you guys want to see the controversial video, go to the Instagram.
No, I saw that one on, I saw that one. I was laughing.
Michael, help me out, man.
Hey, I've always taught, like, look to where you want to go.
Yeah,
Bring everything to the same side, right?
Yeah. If you think about it, how do babies roll over?
Yeah,
They look for that little rattle, the toy that the parent is playing with on that side. And then the body follows, right? So you have to go back to that. And then once you get that, you can get a coordinated movement with the whole body, right? So there shouldn't be a huge shape change when you're doing any kind of twisting, right? So back to that shaping stuff. So back to your answer, Patricia, about all of this, which includes the twisting debacle, twisting situation as well, is it's always been done that way. Someone must have had this is what Jerry said. He said, someone must have had success somewhere with some outlier athlete. Like an athlete that's just going to win no matter what, right? Like Michael and I've had this conversation. There are athletes who are just going to be elites no matter what coach coaches them.
Simone Biles, take a look at her round off, right? Like, everybody tries to mimic it. It's like, it works for her, not everybody.
Correct. That's a great statement because it's true. Simone Biles, if someone helped her with some of her biomechanics, including her running, like, holy Bazzoli, she'd add another flip. So I actually jokingly said that to the running coach because he's seen it. I said, so you're telling me that if someone would just hook you up with Simone, like she could just add another flip to her vault? And he was like, yeah. Probably, So what is done at high levels does not always mean that it's the most biomechanically ideal or efficient, but it works for them. They found some kind of way for it to work. And a lot of it, if you look at their body and how they walk and et cetera, is some muscle imbalances that they use to their advantage, right? I mean, that's it.
I'm just speaking from a spinal cord injury that we are lacking so much in thoracic. Everything that every physio and doctor I've worked with in the last 14 years since my spinal cord injury is like, thoracic, you need it to stabilize to walk. You're using everything wrong. You need to fix your thoracic. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like me and the kids, right? Shoulder
Yeah.
flexion. We need shoulder flexion. The kids need to learn how to use, like,
You
you
have to
need to
have,
be, yeah, trying to tell people like that is important. You see these guys that are doing front fold double fronts. Yeah, if you're not locked out in your thoracic and able to pull back and stabilize, you're not going to have a back.
so, but this
Like,
also goes back to your conversation with Tony. If you don't have the neck control, the deep neck flexors here,
yeah,
so what happens is these guys will get weak and the shoulder blade muscles that attach to the neck will overpower. And when they're raising their arms, their head will come out. Just watch a few of the guys salute. Their head will come forward. And what that is an imbalance where the deep neck flexors are not sufficient enough to overpower some of the shoulder blade muscles. And when that happens, the head goes forward. Now my thoracic spine goes in flexion. And how easy is it for me to get my arms open with that?
not.
Yeah, so it goes back to what you and Tony were talking about is head position affects the thoracic spine, which affects the rib cage and the shoulder blades that are moving on top of it, right? And then you could go down the chain and say, well, this also affects what's happening at the low back and the
Lower
hip.
back, hips, all the way down.
You go all the way down. And so anyway, so let me yeah, so part of it, unfortunately, Patricia, is a lack of education. I find it's starting to change, but one of the biggest things in most sports, this isn't just gymnastics, but in most sports, is there is a disconnect between the world of sports science and what we know about exercise science and research and biomechanics and like the actual knowledge base and the application of it at a coaching level. And so some of the best coaches in the world, like so for instance, the running coach that I had come in, he has had more than 40, almost 50 athletes over his very short career go to college and run, right? And at some really big schools. And they have some really fast times. But if you talk to him any amount of time, he knows the science behind power, behind biomechanics, behind balance. He also knows the science behind recovery. And so he's using that with his athletes. So really good coaches seek out this kind of information, which is why I'm now doing my online courses. That's why I created Perfect 10 PT Academy altogether, is because I feel like there is a disconnect between athletes and the education, parents and the education, and coaches and the education.
Absolutely.
I feel like, honestly, they all need to have the same education. Everyone needs to know what they're looking at so that they can get everybody together. Not that a parent needs to coach an athlete, but that a parent needs to know what their athlete's doing so it can help support their athlete.
Yeah.
And
they
the
need to
athlete definitely
understand the
needs
whole
to know.
process.
Do what?
They need to understand the whole process. It's not just one person. Like, I've always seeked out the best, i.e. you, Tony, like everybody I deal with is at that level. It was the same with my spinal cord injury, right? I took people that were interested in researching and going, how come this man made himself walk and people are out there with less injury and can't walk, right?
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, so you do have to, so I want to create educated consumers. Like, that's it. You're consuming a sport and I want to help create educated consumers. So that's why we have all the online courses. Okay. So I just want to show this. So, this is also where Accorleo and some of the postural stuff we're about to talk about will kind of play in. But you can see she has been trained to do an overhollow. And she's not able to open her shoulders. How is she supposed to get to a handstand from this? You have to shove everything forward, push everything up. By that time, I've lost my milliseconds to do it. So just watch. So we went through, and this was her cast. Like, we did a couple of them, and that was it. I was fighting her. Her shoulders were pulling down, and she couldn't even push up to get it. So we did some stuff for her vestibular to get her ear used to going over. Because I saw that she didn't really want to go over the bar very well. There was a fear component. It was because her ear wasn't getting enough information. That was the wrap. And then watch, she shoves her shoulders forward. And I was like, no, no, no. And she's still in this round locked out position. So I start getting her to relax. And I just want her to push through her shoulder blades. How can you open? How can we open this? So now, can you push through the shoulder blades straight up instead of shoving her shoulders forward? And then, oh, let's fall over because you're having trouble getting over the bar anyway. So let's train your vestibular system. Yeah. And then boom. And then I helped her find it because she didn't know how to get there all the way yet. And then the next one, we just boom right on up there, all the way, all the way. And she's pushing. She's having to learn that she needs to push more than she thinks. But look, there's no thoracic flexion. To get that handstand, she's straight bodied. So that's how we got there from that one. I'll stop the screen share. Is that interesting or helpful for people?
Yes.
Yeah.
That
And
was
Very.
fantastic. Yes, absolutely.
awesome. Okay, so and I gave you like the extra commentary. It's better when I feel like the problem with Instagram is I can't do a minute and a half commentary. Yeah, okay, so we got podium training starting at 7. This is for those that are interested. And then I'm looking in here, that is a problem. But how do you counter 4 to 5 hours of 3 to 5 times a week of training? Yeah, see, that's a really good point. Like, how do I counter if my gym is not changing this concept of overhauling? How do I counter it as an athlete and a parent? What I would say is partially just working on your own mechanics. At home, like finding those shaping, like Madhu, we've been doing that with Aria, which is what you've seen how her handstand. Aria's 7, and when she first came, her handstand was kind of wonky, and then she tried to overhollow and then archy and couldn't find middle, and so now she's finding middle. And so it is a matter, one, I would recommend having a conversation about, like, I'm a little concerned how I actually asked the coach, like, how is she going to get her arms over her head if she's rounded? Like, tell me how that's going to happen. And I don't want to start battles or anything, but like, you can always point them in the direction of me and this free webinar. It's a great place to talk. We're starting to live stream these on YouTube. So you can always give them the link to these things. And I definitely would love to talk to any coach about it. So you can always push them in my direction. But at home, you can start working on planks. That's one of the biggest things, is just working on, like, on their hands and knees rocking and a proper plank. If you can do those 2 things, and then you can also start working on, like, my handstand progression stuff I do. But, you put them here, and if they're always overhauling, they're going to get in this position, right? And so what you can do is just have them open and find where their ear is in line with their shoulders, rib cage, pelvis. And you just work on, like, pressing back and maintaining that. How do they maintain that? And then, can you maintain that while you lift your arm? Can you maintain that while you lift your leg? Very simple. Like, and then I've taught this multiple times on this thing, but like, I don't let them cheat with their pecs on their planks, but like, hands are down and underneath the shoulders. And again, they'll get in this position to start, and everyone will want to hold a plank like this. This is not my abs. If you guys try it, you'll notice I'm using my pecs and my hip flexors. So if I open up and I push my head up tall, I push against the floor, and I work on my breathing. And then I find one leg out, and I keep their legs apart about 10 inches or so that they can't overuse their adductors. And I don't let them flex their bottom so they don't get their hip flexors overworking. I want them using their abs. I'll have elites come in and they'll say, I can hold a plank for 8 minutes. And I go, really? And they'll go like this, and they'll hold. And I'm like, yeah, you're doing nothing except for all those bubbas, like the pecs and the hip flexors. I mean, that's not actually going to help you. If this is my shape and I want to get in a handstand, I'm not going to go very high. So I open them up, take a nice breath in, breathe out, put one leg out, other leg out, and then they have to press tall. And the research is that you can, about 30 seconds in, after about 30 seconds, you start to dominate with hip flexors. So I just work on that connection. Don't be saggy, connect. And then they can do anything out of this. They can do this stuff. They can pull things across. You can do legs. You can do this. But can you maintain that rib cage pelvis connection? And then, I don't have the stuff to do it right now, but putting them in an L push-up and working on their handstand shape there. We can spend a whole lecture on that next time if you guys want, or like a whole hour on handstand shaping.
I love that shape.
Which shape? The handstand shaping?
The handstand pike L. I use it all the time.
Have you tried it
All
with
the
the
time.
bands? Try it with the bands, like I did. Oh wait, I just did it. I showed you guys that video. Yeah.
Yeah.
So working that, And you don't have to, you can be on a floor bar, you can be on a beam, you can be on a floor, you can be on tennis balls. Like there are multiple ways I do it. Okay, so let's talk though. So how can we use, so there was this talk, I had it all pulled up and then it got turned around. So hold on. It's the Revive bra, right? Revive bra. There it is by Form. Okay, so we're gonna open that up. And then we had IntelliSkin. And then we have Core Fit. So we're gonna talk a little bit. So coreleofit.com, IntelliSkin.net. I'll drop these into the chat for you guys. These are my go-tos for compression gear to improve performance. And then we were going to talk about the Revive. Okay, so I just pulled them up. We're going to get those in. Okay, so first of all, how many of you guys have heard of the Taylor Swift bra? Taylor's wearing it. It's a postural bra. It's by Form, or maybe it's Form A, I don't know, but Form. Revive bra. Who's all heard of this? Go ahead and unmute.
Not me.
I know.
Only because we
Heard of
talked
it.
about it last week.
Yeah.
I've
Patricia heard
the
about it last
core.
week. Do what?
My friend's repping up here, but she couldn't make this. I was gonna have her chime in, but she's bringing it to Canada.
Oh, the
So-
Core Leo. Yeah. Yeah, I love the Core Leo. It's awesome. But I think it was Madhu, you've heard of this. And was it Tristan and Jamie? You guys have been looking at these Revive bras. Is that right, Trista? Or was it, who was it? It was one of you guys.
Yes, I've been looking at them, but we don't have any experience with them.
Got it. Okay. And then I know Madhu also was just kind of paying attention to him. So, when I look at, so this is like my breakdown. Now this is, I haven't gotten a hold of so just to preface, I'm not downing anything. I've not got a hold of one of these exactly yet to be putting it on and test one. So maybe they'll send me one. I don't know. But, you know, you're looking at the price and the price is right at $188, right, for this bra. And I'm just looking at it and there is something here. It does look like this is pulling things back, but it doesn't come all the way through. And so when I'm looking at this, I'm not seeing a lot of stability to open up the shoulders and to help get that neck and shoulder blade and the thoracic spine in kind of that posture we were talking about earlier. So to me, it doesn't look like the optimal layout for that. Whereas when we go to, this is IntelliSkin. Now, I'll explain to you what I use IntelliSkin for, but when you look at this postural bra, you see that it comes here and it wraps back. And so what's happening is it's opening up the shoulders and it's giving through this like different levels of stretchy material. It gives proprioceptive feedback to the shoulder blades so that the shoulders can move more properly. And you can kind of open up and use that, what we call posterior chain. So the muscles in the back tend to be used less than the muscles in the front because everything we do is in front of us, right? And so this stimulates, and this I can attest to, stimulates better posture by opening up the chest through here. Now, one of my favorite uses for this, for IntelliSkin, is, let's go back. Let's do women, just because I know most of you guys are on in here are women. So I will use they have a short sleeve, a 3/4, and a long sleeve. If I have someone has on the lines of Ehlers-Danlos, and we have elbow, wrist issues and shoulder issues, I'll use the long one all the way down. If I have someone with just shoulder instability, elbows not involved, then I'll let them use this one, or sometimes they prefer this one. If there's an elbow instability issue, now using the word instability, meaning there's hypermobility, too much ligament laxity, too much movement going on, or maybe they have an overloading, like an osteochondral defect here, then I might use one of these. Well, this one for an elbow osteochondral defect thing, but this one, or this one they can pick for shoulder instability. So they have a labral tear or they have too much movement going on in their shoulder and they're hyperflexy, then I will use one of these. And let me show you why. Because let's see, they don't, I wish they put it in a different color so you could see a little bit better. Maybe this picture. Okay, so you can see that there is a strip here that has a different compression level here, and there's another strip here, and there's different compression fabric. And again, it's all stimulating the posterior chain. And this entire shirt is made out of compressive material. And so what we know with compression, especially when we do core compression, which I'm going to show you guys in an awesome Leo, what we know about compression is that when we compress, especially this area here, the torso, we actually get increased neural firing up the brain to improve central stability system, and even changes in temperature. So like having warmth around here also can do that. But compression as a whole here will increase your coordination, your strength, your quarter squat, your jumping, your height of your jumping, your jump mechanics. I even had a volleyball player with shoulder instability. We put her in this one and the 3/4 because she liked them. And she increased her hitting power increased significantly because she was more coordinated in her movement, and the coordination transferred over to an efficient and effective transfer of forces, and her power to hit and her power to do overhand serves just skyrocketed. So it was pretty awesome. Her vertical improved. So, and all that comes from improving because of the core compression. So I use this example mostly for shoulder instability and elbow stuff, only because Core Leo doesn't have one yet, because I've been using this before Core Leo existed. So my next suggestion and biggest suggestion is Core Leo. And I'm going to show you guys some videos really quick. So I just want to go through. They have a couple different versions of the Core Leo. This is great for the dancers who want kind of this dance type of fit. It's not quite as stable as the active core or the, hold on, gym core. Where's the gym core? Gym core. So gym core, the Olympic star one is the active core, but the gym core and the active core are more stability than the Cambry, because there's just less force coming on these tiny straps. You can get, as far as ballerinas, you can get it all in black. All of those can go all in black. And then there's a Leo lock, which is on the mid grade of stability, in that it doesn't offer as much as this active core back part is, because it has a little cute cutout. But it works great for people on the medium to mild area of instability. So if I have someone that's super hypermobile, too much movement in their low back, they're Ehlers-Danlos, or they're on the continuum of Ehlers-Danlos, sorry, I would put them in either the active core or the gym core. So this gym core or the active core. And then a few of my really hyperflexible athletes actually tested stronger in this one, because so it has these stays that are kind of sewn in. It adds a little stability, but then you lose a little bit of stability in the cutout in the back. So this one's probably can handle a moderate. Some of my I was surprised. One of my on the continuum Ehlers-Danlos kids she tested really strong in this one and she liked it. So we went with it and she did great with it. So it's really good because of the stays. But as far as like, you're just looking to increase your performance, increase your neural input, you can do that with this one. You also can do it with the active Leo, the Leo lock. But if you're headed towards the direction of like, you're on the higher end of loosey-goosey or hypermobile, or you're dealing with a stress reaction, a stress fracture, a spondy, a pars fracture, then I would put them in the active core or the gym core. And the Olympic one is the same as the active core. Okay. Now the active core and also this Cambry come in a regular torso versus a long torso. So if you have a long torso, which I do have an athlete right now has long torso, it fits better if they have the long torso. And then the other cool thing about these is they have these gym skins undergarments. And what they are is they have the compression, but they are lower cut here and higher cut here. They have silicone underneath here so that you can wear them underneath any leotard or anything. Even there's some ballroom dancers that are wearing these underneath their ballroom dresses. And they're really, really great. And they test super strong. They test just as strong as the gym core and the active core. Okay, so I want to show you guys some videos of, yes, Michael, of how this core stuff works.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Are you using it like in the clinical situation, or how, like during training, how often are they trying it or recommending it?
Yeah. Okay. So how we're using the Core Leo. So I used to use like a back brace compression for like hypermobile low backs and stress reaction, stress fractures in that continuum.
Right.
But it slides, right? It slides during workout. So
Yeah.
what we're doing is, so it depends on what they're coming in for. So if we're trying just for performance, then I would say most workouts out of the week, like let's say they're trying to learn a new skill, because we're trying to create a new foundation for movement. Anytime we learn something new, it's going to create a foundation of how we move for that skill. So if they're learning something new or they're in a big transition and they don't have any pain at all, we're just using it as performance. I would recommend if they have 5 workouts a week, wear it 3, right?
Okay.
Wear it on your hardest workouts. Wear it when you're working out and focusing on your upgrades, right? Use it to help improve your performance and your strength. And I'm going to show you some videos of how it does that. Now, if I have someone who's having an active back pain and we're using it because we're trying to get them out of pain, then I have them wear it all the time for like all their workouts for like 4 to 6 weeks. And then after that, I'll let the athlete kind of work it out. And they almost always know. It's like, oh, I do pretty good for my workouts Monday through Wednesday, but then the end of the week, I'm really fading. So by Wednesday, they decide to start wearing it. Or Friday practice and Saturday morning practice, they really need it. But those athletes, they love it so much, they will not compete without it, not because they're hooked on it, but because they feel so much stronger in it and they actually know they're stronger. They're testing stronger. And you could wear it every single day. There's no harm in it because you're about to see how it actually makes you stronger, not weaker. Okay. And then also for athletes that we're working on their instability. So I have some athletes with flat feet, their feet are rolling in, collapsing arches. We're using the Core Leo to help improve that stability down the chain. And for them, same thing, I would wear it more times than not until we gain better control. We're basically using the Core Leo to help improve the firing patterns until the firing patterns become their new habit, their new preference of movement. Make sense?
Yeah. Oh, no. I just went to my neuro rehab yesterday.
Yeah.
to fix my foot that's kicked out and turning in and rolling in, and yeah. So I get it.
Did you say the undergarment one or the other one for under the Leo?
Undergarment is for under the Leo.
For Leo.
You can use some of the other, like the active core or the Cambry, those can go underneath the Leo, but the undergarment one is specifically meant for underneath the leotards because it's the way the top is cut and also the bottom is cut, and then the fabric outside the compression part.
What about the gymnastics thong one?
Here. The gymnastics, which one?
The thong?
The undergarment, it's an undergarment thong, right?
No, there's 2 on the website. It says gymnastics undergarment, gym skin undergarment, and then there's another one that says just in gymnastics thong.
Oh, it's the same thing. It's the that's the undergarment. They created a thong version just because some people had a preference. They didn't want the full bottom part.
Oh, I see. So just the bottom that's a different. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's just a preference. Yeah.
Okay, and do they have child sizes?
So right now the lowest they go is a child medium. And so I actually am going to show you, so I want to show a couple of videos so you guys can see this. But this is the lowest that they would go right now is this size body. She was a child medium. So right now they're going a child medium. I talked to Faith. Her concern was that people were going to push through pain and not get little kids help with pain. And I said, yeah, but I think we also need to teach people that this is really helpful, because for this girl, she doesn't have any back pain, but she's an Archie kid and she's learning her back walkover poorly. And so I recommended the core. I tested her. We were just at the booth randomly testing. These are random people, okay? And so let's see, okay, we've got like, I'm gonna be 10 minutes over, but then I can't be much more than that because I have another client. But I want to show you guys this video because so this is my very first experience with core, and then I'll come through here and I'll show you guys some random people I just picked out and we did some stuff with, okay? So you guys can see this video, yes?
Hi guys.
Can you guys see and hear that?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear.
Okay, great. All right. So we go through, I'm probably gonna just try to go through it a little bit.
Perfect 10 physical therapy performance.
Oh, it's not gonna let me. Okay, fine. Let's see if it'll let me do it this way. Okay, can you guys still see it? Yeah, here we go.
Yep.
Okay, I want to be able to fast forward it. All right, so this was my first experience with Core Leo, and I can tell you guys at the end why it works, but I want to show you what's happening. So right here, she's got her regular Leo on, and she's just squatting, but when she squats, she rotates her hips to the right there. So you can see, whoops, that her headlights are wanting to go this way, and you can see that this leg is turning out. This knee is actually coming in, but her foot's turning out, which tells me her IT band is tight. So her knee is going in and foot is turning out, and we can talk more about what that means with the IT band. But you can see also that this foot is collapsing when she squats. And then when she jumps, it gets worse. I'm going to go slow first, and it gets worse when she jumps. And then let's just let it go regular speed. But you also notice she does not absorb her landing when she jumps.
Again, she has that rotation and that right foot collapses, and there's not a lot of shock absorption.
And same thing when she's standing.
There goes that right knee.
So when she does the one leg, she pushes up, and then when she lands, that knee, oh, sorry, I had it paused. Her right knee rolls in and her foot turns out. So, whoops. Right there. You'll see this whole hip is coming this way and that's going out that way. Now she's overloading here. She's also overloading here. And guess what? In her back. And her movement pattern is to always rotate to her right on her back. And that's why she had a stress fracture in her low back at one point. So then we want to test her core and see what happens when I push down on her. So when I push down on her, you'll see she collapses in her low back. And in particularly this right side of her low back right here. She buckles by rotating to the right. And then when I test her core, that axle load test, you can see, and this is the easiest test. I line up athletes and you can, maybe you have trouble seeing this part, but when you push them, they either bend at their hips or they step. And that's telling you that their core is not doing its job. And then when you push on them in different directions, they'll fall over, they'll step, they'll bend at their hips. All those things are telling me that her core is not turning on. And I'm trying, she's trying. And so we talk about building the house on the cement foundation versus a gravel foundation. And when she bends her knees, there was a lot of movement. I tested her IT band tightness, and this is very tight. It needs to be below horizontal. And then I test her glute med. So this is her muscle that keeps her knee from rolling in. And she can't even really hold it. She can't even hold it. And I test this over and over. And this is a common imbalance that happens when athletes grow, which is why using the Core Leo is very helpful for a growing athlete, because these imbalances kind of naturally will creep up. And this will help improve the function of the brain to muscle and can help you kind of iron out some of these little issues. So again, she couldn't hold it. And then we go to her glutes.
Immediately drop. There she is.
And so you can see when she bends her knees, she extends and rotates in her back. My hand should not be moving, right?
And it should stay stable so that the knee.
So when you bend your knee should not make your back move, right? And so she's extending and rotating, which is what we saw when she squats. And so now this is with the Core Leo. She now has the Core Leo on. And what we're looking for ideally is hip. I'm going to pause. So we're looking at hip, knee, ankle alignment. And so this is the same athlete. We did nothing in between. She just put a Leo on. So already when she stands here, she's not rotated, which she was earlier. Hip, knee, ankle's already in better alignment. Look, she's not collapsing in her arch of her foot. And so then when I ask her to squat, she's already in a better alignment. The pelvis is staying. Her knee needs to come out just a hair more, but boy, that's much better. And then if I ask her to do it a couple times,
So the hips stay
you'll
pretty
notice
much
that it gets
straight,
better as
and
she
the knees stay on
goes.
the second toe. Go ahead.
So she's getting a little better as she goes.
Closer.
And then here,
Yeah, and her ankle does not.
so by the third squat with the Leo on, I wish I'd had the hip in this video, but we were looking at the foot. Her knee is in line with her hip. It's where it needs to be because her knee should be in line with her second toe. And look at this arch. It's staying. And
Yeah, and her ankle does not collapse like it did earlier.
and then when I resist her, she's not all over the place anymore. She's staying. And when I pushed down on her, there was no collapse. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm sorry. User error. Okay, so she's staying and not moving. When I push down, there's no collapsing in her spine. And you'll see this over and over. I've got 3 of them. Look how strong she is. I'm leaning on her. She's not moving. She's shocked. And again, no movement going on in her back. This is all solid, which is what we want to see. What her IT band is testing normal. The length of her IT band is the same. Do you know how many people painfully roll out their IT band, which is like a leather? The IT band attaches to a little tiny muscle called TFL. And that TFL loves to overwork. And when it overworks, it pulls on that IT band. And so now that we have some central stability happening from the core Leo giving some compression and feedback to her brain, back to the muscles, this Bubba gets to quiet down. And now the IT band gets a break. All right, I'm seeing, what does it say? Is this video on Instagram or YouTube? No, it's not. I can get it up though. I can get it up probably on YouTube or on Facebook. I don't know if I can get it on Instagram. It's too long. I believe you got it. Good. All right. So now, then we tested her glutes. So watch what happens. She's holding and then watch.
Looks like the core Leo is what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. So look how much stronger she is.
Testimonials on it.
All right. And now watch when she bends her knee now. Nothing's moving. Nothing's moving. Now, if you guys reach out to me, I can give you a link. I think she just sent me a new one. So you can get 10% off your first one.
More solid on the stable. Was it more work with the core Leo on or less work? Less work. So you feel like you're working less? Yes. But yet you feel more stable? Yeah. Came in today with pain? Yeah. And today you were able to do, so you said it had been 2 months? Yeah. And 2 months with pain on my back walkers and front walkers, and then putting this Leo on, it went away. Went away, completely. Yeah. And what I believe is happening.
Okay, so now let's go on. You might say, oh, Brandi, that's one athlete. I have done this for several, like, gosh, I mean, we're in the hundreds probably at this point, but this is some random girl I picked. All right, so let me pause this. Hold on, the videos are all going together. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right, let's try this. So this is the pre-video. I just happened to be at the booth at National Congress last year and picked this girl out. She wanted to be tested. You can see her hip rotates, her knee goes in, she loses her arches. She's collapsing, everything's going in. And then the other side, same thing, knee goes in. And then she jumps and she collapses and then loses her balance.
Now I want you to jump as hard as you can and just see what happens. How high can you go?
So I just wanted her to see what her vertical felt like. Knees go in, knees go in. So her knees go in and her feet collapse when she jumps. And she lands a lot on her heels. And this kid has a history of severs. So then I tested some more muscles and I said, okay, can we test this muscle?
All right, so let's just see how you're, let's see. Okay. All right. All I want you to do is hold your hip right here. You ready? Don't let it drop.
She can't hold it.
gonna do it.
Yeah, they always try to fight me. They want to win. Drops every time. And then we go to the other side. So she can't even hold it against gravity. This is very, very common for growing athletes, right? This is one of the most common imbalances that I deal with, either in back pain, hip pain, ankle pain, knee pain, anything up and down the chain, as well as just growing. And I know that that sounds like, oh, she's crazy, but no, I'm seriously, like, so many gymnasts and even just other athletes show up with this imbalance where their glute med and their glute max are not doing their job. And their central stability is not working. Their hip flexors are doing all the work. So that one was a little stronger, but she couldn't hold it. And if you remember correctly, when she did her squat, this leg looked better than the other leg when she was squatting. Neither one of them were great. They both rolled in, but so here's her glute max.
Andrea, do you have your
muscles.
stuff together for gym tonight?
Can someone mute? I'm not sure who that was. It's a mom getting her kid ready. That I know. All right. So, it's all right. Do you mind muting though? Okay. So what we want to do though is, so I wanted her to then hold up her muscles, right? Hold up her leg. And this is one of the biggest muscles in the body, the glutes. And she can't hold it. It just drops. Can't hold it. And I'm not letting her cheat. I'm making sure that she's literally getting glute max, not her IT band, not her hip external rotators. That's why you see me holding everything straight in a straight line. Okay, so this is her core Leo. So she goes to the bathroom, puts on. Now, this is the active core, the one with the little cutout in it. And she does great in it. Look at this alignment. No arch collapsing, straight align. And you heard mom just like, whoa, what just happened? And even the kid, she's not weeble wobbling. Now this side, remember, it was a little weaker, but watch, she's getting better as she goes. So what's happening is the brain's getting a chance to get more information from the compression that's wrapped around her. So she notices it straighter. And then I have her do a jump. Notice she lands toe heel instead of heel first. That heel first is your big problem with Sievers. Toe heel, and she starts to fix it. And I did not tell her how to jump. This is just information going to her brain. Now she needs to work.
Oh, come on.
Toe heel.
Yeah.
Toe heel. And so she needs some work on how to jump, and you need to, so this is a tool. This is not a end all be all answer for everything, but this is a tool to train her to get her hips going. And now watch this. So I was leaning my whole body weight in her. She's good. And she's like, what just happened? You can see the kid. She's like, I'm so much stronger. I don't get it.
There it is.
Super strong. Super strong. Now watch what happens to her glute max. So over here. Yeah, so you use this as a tool. That's what I was talking about. Let me get her fast forward. I'm talking a lot. Okay. And then now I lift up her leg. And there's no movement when I bend her leg that time.
Okay, now don't leave. 5, over 5. Give me all you got. 5, 4, 2.
So a lot stronger. So we have a scaling system, and before it was a 3-, now it's a 5. You see all this is actually activating. And if you notice, you'll see our glutes are actually activating where they weren't activating before.
Yeah, the left side is usually. There it is.
Yeah, and her left side is that harder side. Or no, that left, I don't know. Anyways, one of the sides was harder. Okay, so then, well, what if it's something, to do with this or that? Well, this is another kid. She just steps.
Oh, yeah, too.
And then watch what happens in her back when I push down. So first of all, she gets confused. She thinks she needs to bend her knees. I'm like, no, don't bend your knees. But she bends in her back at this one little spot right back there. And her mom goes, yeah, she's super archy. We've been having trouble with being archy. And I said, I'm going to guess that she does her back walkover, pushing her pelvis forward. And so then we test. Yeah, she was a little confused. We had to teach her a couple things. So
Ready? Oh, hold it up. She's trying.
She's trying really hard. She's using all kinds of things trying to help me. This was this year at Congress. Yeah, so she's got nothing, right?
All right.
So we didn't test everything on her. We just tested because we were quick. But this is her in the Leo. This is just the gym core, I think. Look how solid that is. Yeah, she's super solid. Oh yeah, we videoed it earlier, but we didn't do this. But watch her squat. Her squat gets a lot better. Oh no, we didn't do the squat. Okay. I was trying to do something quick. Okay, here's her glute. So notice how much stronger she gets. Now this kid has no back problems, no severs, no injuries. She's 7 or 8, I think. And this was the thing though. This is how she does her back walkover. And you can see she dumps her pelvis forward and drops her rib cage down. And then when I asked her to do the core Leo, that improved. You're getting more of a tall arc instead of this TP happening. My concern is that the back walkover on the left is a cooking recipe for stress fracture, PARS issue, like at least hypermobility and some low back issues. And it's not going to give you, you're bleeding out that power again, right? So if she's bleeding out power, she's going to have a lower front handspring, a lower back handspring. Her tumbling's going to be lower. So number one is you loss of performance. Well, number one is injury risk. Number two is loss of performance. Again, this kid has no issues. So then I had her do a back walkover.
Tall. We're doing a back walkover. Okay. Fingertips there.
And you'll see
Yeah.
they're very different. Very, very different back walkovers. So we slowed them down. And she's dumping here, dumping there. This one, she's getting taller and then opening. Now she needs a little more work on it, but you notice that when her hands hit, this one, her pelvis is lower. This one, her pelvis is rising. Now I would never tell an athlete, hey, your pelvis is dropping, your pelvis is rising. That doesn't make sense. But here she's collapsing and here I have her pushing. So I'm like, you need to be pushing tall when your hands hit. And so if an athlete is doing this type where their pelvis is lower and dropping or staying the same and not rising, they are compressing. They're bleeding out energy. So she's bleeding out energy there, and then she's bleeding out energy there. Whereas here, she can open it and push the transfer. This is that energy transfer. Power transfer, the ability to efficiently transfer. Now she needs a little more work and need to open the shoulders a little more. But there's other things I do with the bands and stuff like that to help. So there's a bunch of different tests you can do. One is that functional biceps load where they have their elbows bent and you push down. The other one you can push down on their shoulders. You can have them do a single leg squat. You can have them hold their leg up like I did where their foot was rotated up and you hold it up and they don't drop it. Or you can lift their leg straight up on their stomach. But with the one on the stomach, make sure that their knee's not coming out. Make sure it's in a straight line. And don't let them cheat. Like everything just needs to stay straight because they'll falsely test like they're strong by sliding their knee out or rotating instead of keeping everything straight. And then the glute med, that side one, they'll falsely test strong if their foot is turned in. So let me see if I can stop the screen share. Exit. Okay, so for instance, if their foot is here and their foot is turned in when you go to lift, they'll falsely test positive. So you have to make sure that their foot is turned all the way up and then push down, and then you can see that they're strong. But the easiest functional test you can do that if you don't want to like mess with all that stuff is the biceps load where you push down, pushing down their shoulders. Do they give or buckle? And then standing on one leg and squatting, looking for that hip, knee, ankle alignment. I have tested the core Leo over and over and over and gotten insane results with that. It's the same result every time. I literally Faith laughs. I come to her booth just for fun. Like, can I pull a kid out and we'll just test them? And they all test the same, just like that. And so part of it is growing and the bones growing faster than the muscles can keep up. And those bubbas will take over. And the muscles I'm specifically testing are the billies because I want the billies to control that hip knee when they're running, punching, jumping, tumbling, etc. And then for the IntelliSkin, I do similar tests for the shoulders, because I use the IntelliSkin specifically for shoulder, stuff, because Faith doesn't have, a full body one yet, because there's not been, it's just too expensive. There's not been enough people interested. Ideally, if I had someone who's Ehlers-Danlos, who's on that high end of hypermobility whole body, I think they would do really well with a full, length, core Leo from here all the way down to the ankles. Faith does have a Leo that goes down to the ankles. So that's great for the knees and ankles for, someone who's super hyperflexy. It's also great for circus people like Lyra and, trapeze, and even the silks people. Whereas, you could do is get one of those and get an IntelliSkin long sleeve one if you have an athlete who's Ehlers-Danlos or hyperflexible. The compression will make all the world of a difference. One of my several hyperflexy athletes, the core Leo has literally saved them. And they just test so much stronger in the core Leo, because for the hyperflexible person, they move so far before their brain recognizes that there's a movement. If you add compression, it like makes the brain more sensitive, so they can more quickly get information to their brain and react faster with their muscle coordination. So hopefully I blowed a couple people's mind that bracing and compression, et cetera, does not make you weaker, but it actually can make you stronger. And there are ways to tell, is that good for me, right? So you want to test, put on whatever it is you're wearing, and then test again. I do the same thing with bracing. Because there are appropriate times to brace, and there are inappropriate times, and there are good bracing and there's bad bracing. So I talked on that in National Congress. So if you're interested, let's see, if you're interested in the chat, can you, if you're interested in core Leo, I do have an ability to get you a 10% off your first purchase. I don't have that code right here. It's like a QR code. So if you're interested, just drop a Y in the comments and I will make sure that we get an email out to you guys. Make sure you're saving admin@perfect10ptacademy.com in your contacts. Otherwise, all of my emails that I send you guys about these recordings and etc. will go to your spam. Okay, I see lots of yeses. Okay, great. I'm going to take a quick picture here so I make sure I have all the right people on here. All right. Okay, I got you. We will send, so look for an email at least by next week that has the QR code for your first order. It's 10% off on core Leos, and then we'll send out maybe this link. Also, it's going to be on YouTube. Okay, great. Yeah, I got you, Carla. Awesome. All right. So this is a paradigm shift for me. Oh, I love it, Sandra. I'm so glad you made it today, Sandra. It's nice to see your face again. Yeah, and then same interest in the discount. Oh, and size recommendations. Yeah, so Madhu, with her, we might need to reach out to Faith because she's so tiny. I don't know if she's a child medium. What size is she in regular Leos right now?
Small, child small.
Yeah,
Her torso is too small.
Say that again.
She has long legs and a small torso.
Yeah,
I can't.
So she's still a child small right now. Yeah, it's not until she gets into a child medium as of right now, because Faith hasn't, it's a cost of manufacturing, right? And so I don't think she's manufactured any child smalls yet. But
yeah, even the child mediums aren't available on the website when I looked. So it would
they
be
are,
good if we
but they're
could at
only
least...
So hold on one second. Child mediums are only available in the gym core and the active core.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Gym core and the active core, not the specialty Olympic one. It's because it's not the bulk of the people buying right now. But as she grows, I think that there will be more. I'm almost certain of it. And then for you guys, for moms, check out the leggings. I love them. They also have now some trunks. It's hard to tell, but they are just shorts. They're trunks. She has someone in a Leo with the trunks on top of it in the picture. It is truly just trunks, like biker shorts. The biker shorts are going to be less, and she says that on the website. She and I helped her design that on accident. Well, not on accident. I give her feedback. I also helped her design the stay one. And I don't get paid, by the way. I'm not getting paid for that. I just love them. It's really a needed product. But the trunks, they will give you some stability, but if you're on the higher end of like stress reactions, spondies, pars fractures, like that higher end of hypermobility in the low back, I wouldn't recommend just the trunks. You would need a core Leo plus the trunks. If you're like a cheerleader or you're doing like two-piece type things and you're on the lower end and you're like just wanting to use it more for function and performance, you will find a need from the trunks. All right, you guys. Thank you guys so much, and I'll send you guys an email. Thanks for joining. For those of you that are new, you can get my free training at www.perfect10ptacademy.com. I'm putting it in hold on. I got to spell academy.com. All right. Pick up the free training today. All those who are watching live on YouTube and or you're recording, you guys can check it out at www.perfect10ptacademy.com. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday, same time, same place, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thanks for adjusting for our time zones, guys, and adjusting for our new time this week. Moving forward, we're going to be at the same time. All right, you guys, be sure to register each week. Same link to register. And again, I'll see you guys next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard. That's 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern. All right. Have a great week. Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Oh, and the take home, I don't know that I'm all for the Taylor Swift bra. Don't tell Taylor, or maybe tell her. All right.